Hello again and welcome to another wonderful episode of Pole Obsession with the beautiful Elizabeth Domazet and me, Felix Kane, who's also beautiful. Today we...
Yes, you are.
Thank you. Today we have with us the even more beautiful Andrea Ryff. We're super excited to have you. Thank you so much for talking to us.
Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. Sorry, I'm just going to talk all over you, right? Just like that. I really want to talk about your incredible performance last night because I did have tears. I was very moved and very proud in a way that I don't deserve to be because I'm not part of your pole training journey at all. But we both broke our foot at the same time and we've been talking a lot and I haven't been back on the pole since then, but you've just gone off and done 1,000 things.
Yeah. We did connect because you were one of the first people that reached out after I broke my foot, actually. And I really appreciated that because I think I was in such a bad mental headspace at that point because when you go through an injury like that, it has such a huge impact on everything. It affected my confidence. It was in shock. So I really appreciated you reaching out because I think, and you really put it into perspective where you sort of listed your injuries.
Did I?
Yeah, you did.
Good on me.
But what I liked was how, you put it into perspective where you're like, it's not the end.
Mm.
Like there is still a future at the end of this. This is just something you're going to go through and I've come out the other end. And I really needed to hear that because the surgeon kind of, mainly because they don't understand what we do with pole. Look, when I said, well, I've got a competition coming up in nine weeks, and he said, well, you're not doing it kind of thing. And so then you get caught with this, I shouldn't be doing all of this, but I really want to, and I know it's important for my mental health and my physical health as well. So I really appreciated that, hearing that from you, and you were very lighthearted in the way you said it. And so that was a confidence booster. And that's actually something that sort of snapped me out of that funk where I was like, yes, I can get through this.
You got a scooty.
And I got this, and that was great advice too. I got scooty.
Yeah, scooty is like life changing. If you have a lower leg injury, which it affects everything. Because the problem with like foot leg is it's not like your arm you can just carry around with you, even your head, anything you can just carry around with you. But when it's your foot, it's everything. You can't drive properly, you can't walk properly, it's all the time. So I knew you needed scooty.
No, I needed scooty. Just simple things like because I live alone as well. I don't have a partner.
Yeah.
And my family's on the Central Coast. So simple things, making a cup of tea.
Yes.
And bringing that cup of tea back over and like looking after myself, preparing a meal.
Yeah.
Or, that Scooty was definitely, she was a change.
Yeah. And I remember when you did it, like you were, I think, was I the first phone call?
Yeah.
So she rings me up and she's like, Elle,
yeah,
you're not going to believe this. She says to me, Elle, are you sitting down?
Yeah.
And I'm like, wait, what's going to happen here? I didn't know what was happening. I'm like, all right, I've sat down. Tell me, what did you say?
So I broke my foot. And because I hadn't announced it on social media either. Like I'd kept it really quiet.
Yeah.
So
because you were still in shock.
Yeah.
You were actually still in shock that you actually broke your foot. Yeah, you're training for a comp.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert as well. You did the comp.
Yeah. She did the comp. And I was like, are you sure about this?
And that's that.
And you really wanted to do it. You're like, no, I'm doing it.
I really wanted to do it. I was fortunate because Dylan was there when I fell.
Very fortunate.
And I'm unbelievably grateful that she was there because as soon as I hit the ground, I knew my foot was broken. And then I went into shock. And then all of that stuff was like, well, I've got Icon coming up. I was flying to the Philippines the next day. I've got a studio to run. I've got, all that stuff starts to go through your head.
Yes.
And then I was like, no, I'm fine. And Dylan, you can hear Dylan very calmly in the background going, okay, let's get you to hospital.
Yes.
Yeah. So for those of you listening that don't know, Dylan's a medical doctor.
Yeah. So she snapped into that medical mode straight away and took really good care of me. They put me on this Bunnings trolley. And I wish we had a picture of it because it was hilarious. And I'm sitting there in this Bunnings trolley and they wheeled me down to the car and Dylan took me to the hospital and I looked up at her and said, I'm still doing Icon. And she said, yes, of course you are.
Yeah.
You did do it.
I did.
amazingly. I was like, because I was judging. I remember.
Yeah.
I was smiling so big because I was so like, she broke her foot. And she's here. And it was so short after as well. You know, it was like
9 weeks.
9 weeks.
9 weeks.
It's unbelievable.
And I'd only just started weight bearing.
Yeah.
And you know what's about that competition? I actually think it's probably the most I've ever seen you have fun and enjoy your experience on stage, because at that point, there's no going into that competition to win. You've got a broken foot, right?
Yeah.
So go in like with a huge audience and a huge stage, you know, beautiful theatre, go in and have fun.
Yeah.
And that's the attitude you went in with. Exactly. So it was very different to watch you compete like that.
Yeah. It was enjoyable. I liked it. And I just said, I'm just going to go ultimate showgirl because this foot boot looks ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like it did look ridiculous. So I did all of my floor work with the foot facing forward to the audience because I was like, like it is what it is. I painted it gold. I put sparkles on it. I wore another stupid little ballroom kitten heel on the other foot, and then I couldn't get from pole to pole, so I wasn't weight bearing, so I got people to carry me across the stage.
And you know what? I didn't feel nervous because you are such a strong and controlled dancer and you're so body aware. I think if it had been somebody less experienced, less strong, less controlled, less experienced, I might have felt like, oh, what if you
knock it, or
I didn't feel anxious about. I knew that you knew what you were doing.
You're in control.
You were in control. You had it within, like, you could see that you'd created this thing where you were safe.
Yeah, you know? And I really created it to make sure that everyone could see that my foot was up whenever I landed. Yeah. So I really made sure that everything had the foot up. And coming out with Scooty, Scooty had to play a role.
Scooty.
And the audio that you hear is the actual audio from the fall.
Really? I didn't know that.
There's a video of it. It's the actual audio. So you do hear me go, whoa, and that was the only sound I made.
Yeah.
Then I put a little bit of a doof over the top of the fall because the fall is quite a traumatic sound. But you hear Dylan in the background. I said, oh, I've broken my foot.
Yeah.
You hear Dylan say, okay, let's take you to this.
It was all very calm. Yeah.
She was so calm. You can hear
you were calm too, though.
I was very calm.
You were calm too. Like, with a break that bad, I would have expected you to be screaming in pain. Do you know what I mean? So it was all very calm.
Pole dance is a tough.
I think right? Even the doctor said that, because when I went into the hospital, I had Dylan sitting there next to Dylan had seen the x-rays. She'd seen the video. I hadn't. So I didn't know. But the doctor was pressing all of my bits and pieces and making sure that I wasn't broken anywhere else and staring quite intently in my eyes and asked me these questions. Where's your pain threshold? I said, about a 5. He said, are you sure? I said, yeah. I'm fine. And he said, I've seen the x-ray. You should not be sitting at a 5. You should be sitting at an 11.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, that's interesting. They were really surprised at how...
Maybe it's a pole dancer thing, because I had a very similar thing with my ankle as well, because I walked into the... I drove myself and walked myself into the hospital, and I was like, I think I've dislocated my foot.
Wow. I think you maybe rang me from hospital.
Because I was supposed to do APC that year.
Yes. And you were like, I got some news for you.
And then, like, 3 weeks later, I called you back. I was like, I'm pregnant as well.
Yes. And on top of the broken foot, I'm actually pregnant too.
Also pregnant.
So I've knocked myself out for another year. Yeah. Well, no, it's beautiful.
It is beautiful. But so I really did appreciate that. And exactly, I think because the foot was broken, I was just like, and also because Icon doesn't have any rules, I was like, I can do whatever I want.
Yeah.
And it was initially, I really wanted to push through and because I did APC 2012 and I broke the 5th metatarsal of my foot and it was a spiral fracture. It was bad 6 weeks before the comp and I was in a boot, but I was weight bearing.
Yeah.
And so I created the entire routine also around that foot landing and making sure I was safe. The surgeon gave me the clearance. So it was totally fine.
Yeah.
But it was one of those things where I was like, no, I know I can point my foot because I've done it before. And it was actually Susie Q that was like, this is a really unique opportunity for you to be able to say this is actually this is the truth. Like, I'm in a boot and this is my reality.
The reality of it is.
This is my reality right now. And she said, I think it's important to showcase that you are moving through injury in a very safe and mindful way. That I didn't impact my body in a negative way, because I think that that's something that we have to be really mindful of.
I agree. And especially showing that to other pole and saying, I've broken my foot, get it back out there. There's steps that you need to take 100%. To ensure the rest of your body is okay and not going to be affected.
And training through injury is not always a good idea.
And that's exactly right. Yeah. So I was very careful with who I did get the advice from people, and I was very smart with how I did. I never at one point put myself or my body at risk throughout that process. Yeah. So, and I mean, I loved Icon. I got a standing ovation, which is really cool. And I have to be completely honest with you. I think if I hadn't broken my foot, I probably wouldn't have done as good a job.
Because of the pressure of it, right? Yeah.
Did the routine that you were prepping for Icon, was that very different to the one that you put on stage?
I hadn't really started prepping anything
just
as
the tricks
such. I hadn't really. I had a bit of a concept. I actually wanted to do J-Lo.
Yeah.
So I wanted to do a nod to the fact that, because I turned 50 in January, so I thought, I was going to do back in the Golden Girls. Blanche was 53, I believe, at that age. And then you had J-Lo who did the Super Bowl and she was 53. So I wanted to do that
contrast.
Correct. That was my original concept. And I just don't think it would have hit as well as the one that I did. I still wanted to have my J-Lo moment, which is why I got the dancers to pick me up and put me on the pole.
Yeah,
my Super Bowl moment. But but it was hard doing that reversal. But it was here's the theme. I was struggling when I first got invited to do Icon. I was like, I'm not ready. I was struggling with menopause. I was carrying extra weight. I wasn't feeling myself at all. I'd only just started on HRT. I was not in a good place. I didn't want to do it. I did not want to do it. I wanted to, but then
menopause, you don't even want to walk out the house.
No.
You don't want to leave the house.
No.
Can't wait.
It's the most fun ever.
It
was tough.
Look forward to it.
Yeah.
We're all going to get there.
If you keep aging and live, every female will get there.
But at the same time, I think though that having those conversations with yourself and whatnot, you have a choice as well. You can either sit in it and really allow it to kind of pound you down,
to consume you,
or you can be like, all right, this is my new reality. What does it look like? How can I move forward from here?
Yeah.
And I think that the thing, even though it was a really tough injury and everything that's happened this year's been really hard, I think that these things happened for me to be able to get through and take the next step, because it forces you to do it. So breaking the foot, having that, invitation to do Icon, which is an honor, kind of was like, all right.
It shakes you out of it.
It shook me out of it, gave me a step. Then the broken foot was a choice. So I'm going to either sit down and I'm going to be like, boo-hoo, poor me, or I'm going to how can I make this, turn this, and I believe it turned into my favour, to be completely honest with you, because it was iconic.
It was iconic, for sure.
Yeah, it was.
We remember.
I think it will be remembered.
Yeah,
I'm grateful for that, because that doesn't happen often. When you get that opportunity to create something that is iconic.
Well, we've just been talking about that in another couple of episodes, our all-time favourite routines, and they're not. A lot of them are not what people are you know what I mean? They're things that we've remembered that have touched us and they've stuck with us. So, and that's definitely...
Yeah, so even though it was a really horrible thing, I'm kind of really grateful.
Yeah.
And I was also... I have to be honest with you, I felt like I was in the outskirts. I was like, my time is done. I'm a has-been. No one cares about me anymore.
It's interesting that someone like you can think that.
Untrue.
That's how I was.
But that's your reality.
That's my reality. That's how I was feeling. No one knows who I am. And so when Icon happened, and people it put me back into those conversation channels where I was like, oh, people now.
Yeah.
Know who I am, kind of thing.
Yeah,
and
I'm relevant.
I know.
Isn't that crazy? Isn't that crazy that you have to,
I know.
Because you're always relevant.
Yeah,
but in a different way.
It moves so fast now with social media.
It's crazy.
And so many competitions. It moves really fast. Back, I think when we first started, it was 1 or 2 comps a year, and you were relevant for such a long time.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you felt important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So to feel that.
Yes.
It's not. But you are, like you say, you are relevant. You are so important.
It's your own perception, right? It's how you perceive things, and sometimes it's nice to have, which is what we were talking about before, having someone else believe in you.
Yeah.
It's sometimes nice to hear that from other people, but people don't often tell you those things. until that happened, I had all these people coming back and saying, we admire what you've done, or you're an inspiration.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, you really feel that way? I didn't.
Yeah.
So it was nice to hear it.
It's
I think.
nice, isn't it?
Yeah.
So that helped me with my confidence to kind of get back in.
And I do think, like you say, sort of, not that it was lucky, but in a way, it made you so accessible, because everybody's had an injury, or like so many of us will have an injury that will have
and relatable,
and relatable, and just inspirational as well, because you're like, okay, let's do this, and let's do it so well, like it was a joy.
And then after that, you had another call.
Well,
she has 3 this year.
So, a little one.
3 this year. Well, no, she had one in between as well.
Did you?
New South Wales.
Yeah, I had New
Oh,
South
yeah.
Wales.
That's
That's a little one.
Yeah. No, I know. And I think, so having Icon sort of led me back into being, so I got my Blenix back because I completely lost all my skills. Trying to redo Blenix split, I realised how hard
that's a really hard trick. It is a really hard trick. Yeah.
There's lots of bits and pieces.
Yeah.
So retraining it, I was like, can't do this anymore. This is incredibly hard. So I think having Icon and also being able to lower the pressure levels a little bit was like, it's very limited with what I can do. Let's take certain skills and bring them back. I think that brought it down to bite-sized pieces, which for me was more manageable. Whereas like with APC, because Elle was like, would you do this for APC? I was like, well, no, because APC is like up here as far as skill and criteria and what you need to be able to achieve. So I think had I stepped straight into prepping for APC, or NPC at that point, I think it would have been extremely overwhelming because I was not where I wanted to be. Like nowhere.
Yeah.
Like I'd lost so much of my skills and strength. So Icon gave me an opportunity to go, right, I'm broken. Let's look at a number of different things that I can bring back. And I worked towards those and brought them back. So then when I started prepping for New South Wales Pole Championships, I already had those skills back. Also, training with a 3.5 kilo boot.
Hey.
Yeah.
My strength.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When
I didn't think about that.
Yeah. And I had a second one. So I was doing everything. I was putting a second boot on.
Strength training.
Strength training.
I want to see those videos, please.
Shoulder mount.
Yes. Send me that so I can pop them up.
Yeah.
See, I don't know if I videoed with both, but I was doing booted Pilates with boots on both legs to try and balance myself out. So, but then I ended up with hip issues and the rest of it. But I felt like going into them training for New South Wales Pole Championships, but also I felt stronger.
Yeah.
Because of the boots. But also I think because I had come from a major injury, that allowed me to take the pressure level down a little bit for New South Wales, because I was like, I need to be realistic about where I've just come from, what I've just gone through. I don't know how much more I can bring forward. And I'd been holding on to that song that's been on my playlist for a while, To Die For, by Sam Smith. Interesting how many people haven't heard that song.
Yeah. It's interesting. I love it. I think it's beautiful. And I think it was perfect for you.
Yes.
It was perfect for you, yeah.
Yes, it was really special. So in that moment, I knew that meeting APC criteria was going to be really hard. Like, really hard.
We have a tough criteria.
We have tough criteria.
And it's very technically geared. Like it is geared towards the technical. There is room for artistic interpretation and it's there, but the weight of it is with the technique and the dance, like the pole dancing as like technically good. Yeah.
So if you want to increase your skills, you train for APC.
Yeah.
That is fact.
Yeah.
So because you've got to be an all-rounder in your dynamic, your flex and your strengths and your technique.
Yeah.
So tick all of those boxes.
It actually is one of the very few competitions that those like categories bear points. Like they all have, I think, very accurate. It's very accurately graded.
Yeah, I really like it.
It took me a long time to write that criteria.
Yeah,
it was about 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
Of me adjusting it and writing it and thinking, if somebody's going to win this title and they will be the best pole dancer technically, dance skills and performance-wise in the entire country, what do I need to put in this criteria to make that happen?
It covers everything.
Yeah.
It really does cover everything. It's a very good...
it's hard for a reason.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. And it differentiates our comp from...
And for sure, I feel like I would
Yeah.
never win APC because I don't have dynamic.
Well, you would actually need to train.
I would need to
exactly. And that is hard.
But that would make me a better pole dancer.
Yeah,
I would have to train
and
that I don't naturally don't have skill set. obviously I'm a bit lazy, and I
we're not lazy.
Well, I like to push myself in the bits that I do easiest. You know, my legs go like this, so I'm going to make my legs go like this.
But it's also you know, I mean, you're incredible at what you do. So I think.
Stop saying that.
It's not true. It's not true.
It's not true at all. Yeah,
it's not true. But I do think that I think APC training for APC really does create a well-rounded pole dancer, and I think because you get certain people that dominate in flex, or certain people that dominate in strength, or certain people that dominate.
That's right.
Dynamic,
yeah. But you can't win it if that's the only skill you've got.
You have to be all of the.
You have to be an all-rounder, and not just an all-rounder, average, all-rounder, excellent at everything.
Yeah.
And I like that, because I think that that's what pushes you to be better. And I needed that. I needed that push. So it was funny. I had said to Elle, because I was like, I'm done. I'm not doing these high level competitions anymore. Like they really stress me out. I get really, really nervous. I am a nervous competitor. And I was like, I'm done. But then last year, you sowed the seed with spoken. And she said, and I didn't know what you were doing. So I didn't know why you had said it to me. But then she said, oh, you know, would you compete again? And I was like, hell no, absolutely no. And then she started sort of talking about the documentary and this and that. And I was still like, no. And then I thought, God, actually, that would be kind of cool.
Wouldn't it? Yeah.
So then I started thinking about it, and then we spoke about it later, and then we looked at dates, and then I happened to be in Egypt. I was like, I've literally booked this massive trip. I can't do it. I would have loved to have done it. And then I said, tell you what, next year is 10 years since I won it. I'll do it.
Yeah.
And then when I said to people, Andrea's going to do it, and they're like, no, she's not. And I'm like, I'm telling you right now, she's doing it.
If
she says she's going to do it, she will do
it. Yeah. Also, if Elle says you're doing something, you're doing
it. She sort of suggested it. There was no pressure, which I really appreciated, because I wouldn't have, but I really appreciated the suggestion. And also I appreciated the self-belief as well. It was like, hey, I think you can actually still be competitive in this field. And I was like, I don't think so.
You know, when she says something,
it's genuine.
Yeah,
exactly. And that's what's so easy.
Yeah, she's not saying it to blow smoke up your ass. Like,
no.
It is true.
Yeah. And I think I needed that, because I said I was going through some confidence issues at that point. So I was like, could I still be competitive within this space? I'm not sure if I can. But then coming into New South Wales Pole Championships, like, well, but I didn't expect to win it, right?
Yeah.
I didn't expect to win it. I thought I just want to do a clean routine. I want to prove to people out there that you can still be competitive at 50.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. That was something that I was passionate about. I was like, right, my purpose within the pole community has changed. Right? Yeah. My place within this space has changed. I can't compete against these crazy people anymore. Like, I can't. I have to be realistic about that.
Yeah.
But I still believe that I have value within the space is just different in the way it looks, kind of thing. So I wanted to send a message to be quite positive.
And I received the message because watching you on stage, because I at 40 now, I'm like, maybe, you know, I shouldn't be thinking about going on stage. Maybe I'm just a mum now, and I just like gonna kick back and watch other people do it and be supportive. And then I saw you, I was like, maybe not. Maybe I've still got at least 10 years. Yeah,
but exactly. That was my purpose.
Exactly, yeah. And also, like, because I get into the mindset of like, people have seen what I do. You know, people have seen what I do. There's no value if I go and do it again. But then when you watch someone do something live, they're a little bit older than they used to be, so they're still doing it, and you're like, actually, I love watching this. I have loved watching this, and you are so beautifully you, and nobody else is Andrea. Like, I want to see more of Andrea. It doesn't matter to me that she's 50. Like, that doesn't even come into it. You're a beautiful dancer. I'm like, I want to dance again. You know,
that's great. No, that means
to me it was inspirational.
A lot. And at the end of we you know, that was my goal.
Yeah.
And thank you for sharing that.
Well, thank you for sharing me. And I received. My transmitters received.
Right. No, that's what I wanted. That was my purpose. And I just wanted to do something that was neat, tidy, clean. My foot was still causing me a lot of drama. I was still in a fair...
It was like even 2 weeks before you came down to Melbourne with me, and we had a day of coaching. And Andrea was doing stuff because she wanted to step up on the foot and she wanted to do stuff. And every time she was doing it, I could see her flinching and I knew it was still hurting her. So I was like, all of that needs to be removed. So 2 weeks later, it's like the way I roll, isn't it? Making you change things 2 weeks out. Cut it. And she was like, Elle, I'm like, no, it's got to be cut. It's got to be cut. Yeah. Because I could, all I was watching when she was doing it was her foot. Yeah. I want to not know because we're not got the boot on anymore. Yeah, exactly. Do you know what I mean? It needs to change. That's one of the things I said to you. I think as soon as I saw you afterwards, I was like, I didn't know which one it was. Yeah. I couldn't tell which one it was. Which is perfect. Yeah. That's what we wanted.
Yeah, it was good. Yeah, I really had to work. Yeah. Because I couldn't land on it. Like I wanted to bring my front handspring back as my acro element and I went and trained it. My foot could not take the load.
No.
Couldn't take the load. The cartwheel was fine.
Yeah.
I couldn't. There was just certain things. Great. But I couldn't. Yeah. So I just had to. And then I wanted to bring my full moon back. There's a whole heap of stuff that I wanted to bring back. But my hip functionality has changed a bit with the injury. And I just was like, all right, I want to do a beautiful show. I want to feel it. It's a song that's very personal.
Yeah.
It was a very personal song for me and I wanted to do it justice. I wanted to be present within the moment. I wanted to be on stage and I was like, I want people to feel my story.
Yeah.
And I want people to connect with it.
Well, I think they did.
Yeah. Certainly. It was so beautiful.
Yeah, you did that so well. Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my gosh. Okay, so her coach didn't even know about this.
No.
Can you believe it? She didn't run that past me.
No costume ever.
Well, the first costume I knew about, so for New South Wales, she showed it to me and I knew about that. But then I didn't know about her national costume because she just didn't tell me.
No.
She just didn't tell me. I don't know if she didn't tell me because she thought I might say something or she just forgot to tell me.
I just made up my mind it was happening.
Yeah.
Like in that play, it was non-negotiable. It was non-negotiable. I was like, I'm wearing this.
Yeah.
The funny thing is I've had that costume since 2015.
Really?
I had it made in 2015 by Kelly Maglia. So Kelly Maglia made my Australian pole championships winning piece was the purple one. So she made that.
Yeah.
And I went back to Kelly Maglia and said, I want this. And it was actually the inspiration, I think it was Beyonce's dress. And I said, this is what I want. So she'd already started designing on this dress and I was working so it was I'd made up my mind I was going through divorce. Again, a really tough time. In 2015, a lot was going on. I'd been training for the International Pole Sports Championships. That was the year I did 8 comps in 1 year because I just needed the distraction. I'd come back and I had done APC 2015 and it was a very traumatic experience, not because of APC, but because the night before the comp, I found out my ex was having another affair. So
the night before national comp where she was competing to get her title again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
So I went into an absolute spiral. I just remember I'd lost an incredible amount of weight.
Yeah, you're tiny.
I just dropped a lot of weight. And I remember being on stage and I could see people in the sidelines. Like I was just so aware of my surroundings. Yeah. I knew it was like being in a nightmare.
Yeah.
And it was one of the worst performances I've ever done.
It was. I know you feel like that, but I actually watched that performance the other day. I'm not sure why I watched it the other day, but I know I was watching it because we were talking about our time.
Yeah.
And I watched that one. You were still beautiful in that.
No.
You were. So, but it was a feeling, I think, for you more than anything.
It was awful.
So no one in that audience thought that was awful. You were in no way awful. I think you felt awful because of what was going on.
Yeah, and also like just thinking about that would just like trigger all of the
Like, divorce. I mean, divorce in itself. I mean, we all been there.
Yeah,
we all been there.
Yep.
It's no news. No. Nothing new to us. So we've done it, and it is probably the hardest thing you'll go through in your life. It is. Like horrible, the whole situation, but also to add that element to it, a reason to get divorced like that, and then to jump onto a national stage where you're competing to, regain your title.
It's too much.
It's too much.
My mother didn't want me to do it, but I was like, I'm not going to let him take this away from me. Right. So
I think that's admirable as well.
Yeah.
I'm also the kind of person that when I commit to something, I commit. I don't back out. But it was just that feeling of just not being present, I like to hear what was happening side stage and to see. It was just not nice.
You're probably in just such a raw state.
I was so
absolutely.
It's like you're gonna, you're not gonna be in the right mental state to be like
not
present
even
in your body,
because
everything's just like the rug's been literally pulled from underneath your feet, and that's crazy.
It's hard to think about anything else when that happens.
It was awful. Yeah. So I think coming off that, then I had the International Pole Championships. I'd been invited to it. Now with IPC, that is an invite only comp, right? Like that's a huge honour. Yes. You have to be a national champion
to be able to even be considered. Yes.
So, and IPC was the first comp that I watched where I was just like, oh my God, I would love to be a part of IPC.
Oh, IPC was
like in 2012, I remember watching it. Like we had the who's who of who's who.
Oh, I know.
So that's kind of what, as a pole dancer, you aspired to be on that IPC stage. So I got the invitation to be on that stage. So I was preparing, and I wanted to do this really lighthearted routine about being a forest fairy and picking flowers and all that sort of stuff. So that's kind of where that costume came in. And then I was working with Marlo Fiskin, and she was watching what I was doing, and you could see that it wasn't sitting, it wasn't flowing, it wasn't sitting. She could see that, and she was like, it's just not sitting right within your body. Exactly. Like
I'm laughing at this one picking her sushi up in the background loudly.
Come
in here, Naomi. This is what I'm not going to edit this out. She's like, I'll keep on giving her the side eye because she's got this big bag here, people, with all this sushi. And I said to her, she's like, should I go get sushi? And I said, can you please not buy too much because I know what you like. Let's just show everyone what she does.
I didn't even
there's more in there too. And she's just back there making all this noise.
I was just leaving. I realised I'm a nuisance.
Get out, nuisance.
Sorry.
You're great. We still love you though.
I love it.
Great.
You've done a great job.
Beautiful. And that wraps up part 1 of our incredible chat with Andrea Ryff. But we're not done yet. There's so much more to uncover in part 2. Stay tuned as we deep dive into Andrea's pole journey and let you know what's next on the horizon for her. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you in the next episode. And in the meantime, you can find Felix at The Real Felix Kane. You can find Elizabeth at Aerial Pole, and you can find Andrea Ryff at Andrea Ryff, all on Instagram.